Now, hopefully, if I pull up my whiteboards, this should bring us back to where we were. Okay, there we go.
Nice.
Whew. All right, so we're talking about, the monster under the bed and the irrational fear. See, that's the thing. I'm not saying that when you overcome fear of the unknown, that you're all of a sudden going to be here and living in this reality all the time and there's never going to be any fear. No, 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 no. What we're really talking about here, instead of fear of the unknown, it's rational versus irrational fears. These typically being irrational, these typically being rational. We still have to take action. We still have to make choices. We still have to change when real fears come up, when something that's real happens. But we're talking about these irrational fears, like the monster underneath the bed. So what we've got, go ahead and get one more text bubble going here. In SOS land, actually, you know what? I don't even need to do that. Let's delete that. It's just what we've got here in SOS land is scary damn monsters. What I need you to understand is that that scary monster, that horrifying thing that's holding you back, that crippling fear, that scary, scary monster, if we had some clarity, we'd realize it's just Elmo. Everybody knows Elmo, right? The Muppet, the little red Muppet. He's a monster, but there's nothing scary about him. He's a Muppet. Somebody has their hand up his backside and he's a children's toy. Elmo is the perfect representation, I think, for the monster in the closet. Because take a look at the letters. ELMO. Enough. Let's move on. Enough. Let's move on. I'm sick and tired of being held back by scary damn monsters that I know don't exist. I know that scary monster, it's just lovable, tickleable Elmo. That's all it is. It's a toy that they sell to 2-year-olds that they can tickle. How ridiculous is that? How scary is that? When you can realize that everything over here, and I mean everything, it's ghosts, it's goblins. You get the idea? It's not real. They are not real. Well, I guess skeletons are real, but you get the point. There is no vampire. It's the Count. Ever remember the Count from Sesame Street? Had that funny accent, would just counted everything. That's the vampire. That's the vampire. You want to? Let's do this. Check this out. I think you're going to like this. Over here, we got monsters. Over here, we have Monsters, Inc. Anybody ever watch the movie Monsters, Inc.? Was that Kristen?
Laughing. That's cool.
Yeah. Monsters, which we know aren't real. Monsters, Inc., which we also know isn't real. I mean, it's a cartoon, right? It's an animated movie. but it's an animated movie that makes light of the monster underneath the bed. That's all it talks about. That's the whole movie is about the monster hiding underneath the bed or in the closet in this case. But it's not real. And when you get to know those monsters, they're pretty funny. They're not scary in any way, shape, or form. And now we can move on. Once we get to that point where we understand that the monsters aren't real, that the reality is over here, that Muppets, not monsters, toys, nothing scary, is what's holding us back. This line, that fear of the unknown, is because we're so certain that monsters and ghosts and goblins from our past are going to come back and catch us and do bad things. That the words that we heard when we were kids, that the false pretense that we came up for, that, you know, the tree branch falling on our head. When we realize that that fear of the unknown, what we're talking about is not the fear of the unknown, it's the fear of the unreal. Or the comfort of the unreal, maybe. But that's all we're talking about is real versus fake. Actual versus perceived. The reality is so much simpler than the current reality. The new reality, the actual reality is so much more important. So I'm going to make a suggestion to you guys that I made on Friday. Was it Friday? I guess it was. That I made on Friday to Kristen and to Suzanne. Kristen, you're not going to want to do it. Never mind. Never mind.
No, I'm getting ready to.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Go right ahead. I'm going to ask you guys to do the exact same thing that I asked Kristen and Suzanne to do. And if you go into the chat right now in the Zoom, you're going to be able to see a little file. What I want you to do, everybody right now, make a commitment. Do you have 20 bucks in your pocket or in your bank account? If you've got 20 bucks in your bank account, I know you have an internet connection because you're watching this. If you've got 20 bucks in an internet connection, I want you to go on Amazon or wherever you buy stuff from, and I want you to find a little toy Elmo. Seriously, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I want you to buy yourself a little toy Elmo. And when you've got it, I want you to take a picture or a video of it. And I want you to post the hell out of it, like Kristen did. You can see hers.
Now, you'll have to excuse the way I look. I look scarier than the monster, but.
But let's do this just in case. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, if you can't see that link, there you go. So I said, guys, do me a favor. Buy yourself a doggone Elmo and put it on the desk and bring us back. Uh-oh. To where we were? Okay, there we go.
No.
Uh-oh. All right. Rid of that. Sorry, guys. Screen sharing is paused. Why is it paused? There we go. Screen sharing. There we go. So that's what we're talking about. Get yourself a little Elmo doll, put it on your desk, and the next time you get afraid of the future, the next time you think that you're afraid of what's coming, the fear of success, the am I good enough? Grab Elmo and ask him, are you good enough? Grab Elmo and ask him if he thinks you can do it. In fact, I'll bet you won't even have to. I'll bet you just having that little bugger sitting on your desk is going to be reminder enough.
It is. There's been several times over the last few days, couple days, that that feeling of fear started to rise up in me. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh, it's just Elmo. You can go on.
Yeah. It's not real. It's not legitimate. It's not a thing that we need to be concerned about. It's Elmo. Nobody's afraid of Elmo. You can't be afraid of Elmo. You just can't. So I've told people this. I've recommended this Elmo theory or this answer. Go buy yourself an Elmo doll to hundreds of people over the years. I've known hundreds of people and coached hundreds of people that have had this exact fear, this fear of the unknown, this imposter syndrome, and everything else, however you want to describe it. And every single one of them, I've recommended this. I've gone through this whole presentation with them or a version of it. And I've said, I want you to go and buy yourself an Elmo doll. And not until this week, not until that picture that Kristen just sent us, has anybody ever taken a picture and said, here's my Elmo. I would absolutely love it. I mean, seriously, guys, I would freak the hell out, love it so much. If you would take a picture of your Elmo, if you would show us that you've done it, and you know what? Let's blow it up on social media. Let's make this a thing. Because you know what? Just because you get over your irrational fears doesn't mean that the other people around you are over their irrational fears. So let's talk about this. Let's put it out there. Let's have people asking us, well, why are you showing me a picture of Elmo? What's with all the Elmos all of a sudden? Anybody here seen over the last, I don't know, year, 2, maybe 3 years, all of a sudden every Jeep that you see has little plastic ducks in the windshield? Have you noticed that? Or is it just me? I don't know
I
if you see
haven't
it
noticed ducks.
What's that?
I haven't noticed ducks.
The next time you're out and about, good Lord, sorry. The next time you're out and about, watch for Jeeps, and you're going to see inside the Jeep a whole line of rubber ducks. There's a reason for. I'm not even going to tell you the reason. I'm not going to, because it's better if you look it up. It's better if you look it up and ask what's with the ducks and get your answer. And it's going to be better when people ask you, what's with all the Elmos? And you get to answer. It's about fear. It's about rational versus irrational fear. It's about being afraid of the monster underneath the bed or realizing the monster underneath the bed is just Elmo and there's absolutely nothing real coming. There is no real pain. There is no real fear. There is no real danger. It's all perceived. It's all perception. Every stinking bit of it. I would love, I mean, truly, absolutely freak out love if all of a sudden my feed was loaded with pictures of people holding their Elmos and banishing their irrational fears. To me, I can't even imagine something being more empowering than that. And I hope you guys will do it. Kristen did it. I know Suzanne did it because Suzanne actually, believe it or not, without any prompting whatsoever, didn't just buy herself an Elmo. She bought 2 Elmos and had one sent to Kristen.
Yes.
So I know Suzanne's got hers. We haven't seen her yet. She hasn't posted a video or a picture.
Does.
But she's got it.
Yep.
She's got it. And look, I don't know what your Elmo needs to be. Maybe Elmo doesn't work for you for some reason. That's fine. What does? What is going to be the thing that breaks the pattern? Oh, there it is. I think it was here somewhere. Haha. What is it going to be that gets you out of that perceived fear into reality? For me, Elmo works. But for me, Nikolai, thanks for being here, brother. I appreciate your input. For me, if you ever see me in person, or if you ever get on another call with me, ask me to see the battery, because I've got it with me at all times. It's always in my pocket unless I drop it on the floor, and then I can't figure out where it's at, and then I try and find it, and then eventually have to move out the cameras so that I can actually find the damn thing. But the battery wasn't always a battery. My battery was once a little pewter rhino. The rhino is like a spirit animal, if you will, for me. Look at that. The rhino, right? The rhino is a spirit animal. The rhino is thick skinned. You're not going to hurt it very easily. Its feelings aren't going to get hurt very easily. It's super protective. Don't get me wrong. You trap or corner a rhino, you're about to get blasted because they're also fierce. And one other thing that I love about rhinos, they can't move backwards. Their knees don't bend that way. They can't walk backwards. The rhino has to go forwards, charge straight ahead every time. That's the only option. Move, go forward, never back up, never retreat, forward. It's why it's so well protected. It's why it's so fierce, because it knows it doesn't have the options that you do. So for years, somebody bought me, I don't even remember who or why or when, but somebody bought me a little pewter rhino, and I put it in my pocket and I carried it everywhere I went. And it would go through the wash 100 times because I'd forget to take it out of my pocket and I have to go back down and fish it out. But I carried that thing at all times, not because I needed to touch it, not because I needed it in my hand. I didn't. All I needed was to feel it against my leg in my pocket. Just knowing it was there was enough in most cases. Every once in a while, if I got particularly afraid, if there was something that was holding me back, if there was something keeping me behind, occasionally I would go into my pocket and I would rub the rhino. Just remember, there he is. Okay, rhino, full speed ahead, thick skin, let's go. It's not personal, let's go. Let's move forward, let's go. Charge, fierce, intimidating. And every once in a while, when things were really bad, I'd take it out and I'd just fidget with it. I just need it in my hand. I need to play with it. I just need to feel the rhino. I need to get it, and that's what I did. Years went by with that rhino in my pocket. And at some point, I lost the rhino. I have no idea when I lost the rhino. But I'll tell you this, when I lost it, I didn't even realize I had lost it. Because my brain had become so accustomed to thinking rhino that I didn't need it in my pocket anymore. I didn't need to touch it. I didn't need to feel it. I didn't need to know it was there because I knew it was here. I had the mentality in my head. And a couple of years ago, when COVID hit in particular, my motivation took a huge dive. I mean, I almost lost an entire business. I mean, a business that had been around since 2012. Here I am, 8 years in, 9 years in. It's the business that's taken me to Pakistan and Afghanistan and the UAE and South Africa. It's the business that has put me on the map as an internationally known, internationally recognized consultant working with chambers of commerce and trade associations. And that business almost died during COVID. And I lost my motivation. I lost my drive. I lost a lot as I was giving back deposits and canceling agreements because I can't travel. So you can't bring me into your chamber. How am I going to, chambers weren't ready for Zoom only. And quite frankly, what I was going to do with them was far too advanced. I needed to be in the room with them. It was days worth of work. And yeah, I ended up having to refund 6 figures worth of deposits. Yeah, okay, it was just under 6, but almost 6 anyway. And when I realized that it was easier to pull the covers over my head than get out of bed, I knew that I needed to build a new mindset. I needed to do something, recreate something. And that's where the battery came in. I knew I needed a totem. I needed something that I could hold on to, something that I could feel, something that I could remember, something that would just remind me at all times. If I'm going to take action, I need my battery. I need to be charged up. I need to be fired up. I need to have the power. And the power isn't necessarily always internal. Sometimes it's external. What do I need to do to recharge the batteries? What do I need to do to come out swinging? What do I need to do to come out motivated, dedicated? to my own success? What did I need to do to get past that fear? Fear of action, fear of inaction. It's funny how sometimes we're afraid of both sides of the coin. But this little guy, or one just like it, it's not always the same. The battery changes occasionally when it gets old, when it starts, whatever. And if I lose it, I replace it. But there's always a AAA battery that I can play with. It's in my hands. It's in reach to remind me. So whether it's Elmo or a little pewter rhino or a AAA battery, have something in your conscious, have something real, tangible, physical that your brain can associate with getting past the fear of the unknown, that your brain can associate with success, motivation, action. Make sure that whatever it takes, you've got something in your hand or in your person or available to you that allows you to remember, makes it easy for you to remember potential versus SOS land. Monsters Inc. versus Monsters. The Count versus Dracula. The new reality as opposed to the old perception of reality. Here's the beautiful part of all of this. Imagine a scale. Okay? That's what we've built here, isn't it? That's what the image that I'm showing you is. It's a scale. Left side, right side. Which one's heavier? Which one's going to win? Which one's going to be the one? Well, I want you to imagine a scale, a teeter-totter, if you like. And on both sides, equal weight. What happens to that scale? What happens to that teeter-totter? Equilibrium, right? When both sides are equal, we get equilibrium. Makes sense. Stasis. Static. Here. Always here. But here's the beauty. I don't need to put all of my weight on that teeter-totter or on that scale in order to get it to move. In fact, if it's calibrated right, if it's, what's the word I'm looking for here? If the scale is, good Lord, perceptive enough. I can't think of the word I'm looking for here. But if it's sensitive enough, there we go. If it's sensitive enough, a grain of sand on one side or the other could be all it takes. Elmo might be all it takes. A battery might be all it takes. A pewter rhino might be all it takes. Your intention, never to be afraid of the unknown again, could be as simple as a grain of sand, a speck of dust. If the scale is sensitive enough, any advantage is overwhelming. Any advantage is going to send the scale in the right direction.
That's
So
power. That
again.
is hope. That's powerful. That's hope. Know that a quarter inch, can get,
Quarter inch on either side, it's 30 seconds makes the difference.
yeah.
Right? I've used this quote 100 times. I'll use it again because it's just A, brilliant, and B, appropriate for the conversation. But one of my idols has long been a guy by the name of Chuck Noll. Chuck was the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, American football, back in the 70s and early 80s. And Chuck is a quote machine, but my favorite Chuck Noll quote of all time Chuck said leaders, nope, nope, that's not what he said. He said champions are champions. Not because they do anything incredible, but because they do the simple things better than anyone else will. Think about that. Champions are champions, not because they do anything incredible, but because they do the ordinary things better than anyone else will. You don't need to be superhuman to defeat the monsters. You simply have to make a decision that when you think monster, you see Elmo. When you see monster, you see make-believe. You see something scary, you realize this is just my brain warning me to pay attention. It's not telling me that I have to be afraid. It's telling me, look at this. Analyze this. Is this a threat? Or is this just a perceived threat? Massive difference and incredibly important for you, for me, for everybody. That we can understand the difference, that we can identify the difference, that we can see it for what it is. Perceived fear versus real fear. Perceived danger versus real danger. That's really probably where we need to be. Danger. Is the unknown dangerous? Or is it just unknown? Is the unknown scary? Or is it just unknown? And here's one more piece that I think is incredibly important to all of this. You don't have to come up with this on your own. In fact, you didn't, right? I'm giving this to you. I'm sharing this with you. I'm teaching you this because I've dealt with this dozens of times in my career. I've dealt with people who are paralyzed by fears that are not real, by perceived fears, perceived dangers that will never come true. Here's the absolute, I think, my favorite part of this entire topic. You don't have to get there alone. If you're afraid of the unknown, identify it. What is the unknown? What is it that I'm afraid of? What is the fear? And if you can't figure out how to minimize that, if not delete it altogether, if you can't figure out how to Elmo it enough, let's move on. If you can't figure out how to get past it, then I want you to do the exact same thing as I want you to do when you don't have an answer for what should I do next in my business. Ask somebody who's been there. You don't have to fight the demon alone. Somebody else can turn the TV off for you. Somebody else can change that image for you. Somebody else can show you that the monster under the bed is not this big scary thing. It's Elmo. That's all it is. You don't have to be strong 24/7, 365. You have to be wise. That's what it really takes is wisdom. Are you wise enough to realize that the fear that you're facing isn't real? That it's in your head, that you're making it up, that the consequences that you're imagining are nonsense. Fear of public speaking. Okay. Why are we afraid of public speaking? Nikolai put it out there for us. Because we're afraid of what they might say. We're afraid we might not be good. We're afraid we might not be all of these different things. But what can really, truly happen? What's the real danger if we get up on that stage and speak and don't do well? Okay, maybe we learn some lessons. I should have done this instead. I could have done that instead. Are there ways to get past that fear of speaking in public? There are. You've heard tips. right? I'm not a big proponent of the visualize your audience in their underwear tip, but you've heard it. It exists. There are ways to get around these things. And other people have been there. Every single fear that you have, every one of them has been had by millions, if not billions of people before you. Every single thing that you're afraid of, every single thing that you fear, every single obstacle that you face. There's nothing new. We're human beings. We've all been there. And when you get to the point where, man, I don't know what my mindset should be here. I don't know how to change my mindset to get right here. I don't know what it's going to take to get me over this hump. I don't know why I can't generate enough leads for my business. I don't know why I feel like I don't deserve to be successful. The answer's simple. It's really simple. Speak. Ask. Question. Study. Train. Practice. I'm not suggesting that the next time fear hits you that you're immediately going to think of Elmo and be calm. This is something you have to practice. It's not going to work the first time necessarily, or not as well as it could. It's there as a reminder. It's there to remind you that, you know what, maybe this is a real fear, maybe this is a real danger, and maybe this is not. But I need to assess it. And I need to assess it based on the current situation. Let's go back to Kenya for a second. Let's go back to the Masai Mara. We're in that truck. I've just told Tom, stop, I think I see something. Because out of the corner of my eye, something looks different. I can't tell what it is, but there's motion over there that doesn't match the motion everywhere else. Something's out of place. Should I immediately panic? No, there's nothing to panic about. Something's out of place. That's unusual. Okay, let's examine it. Let's find out. Is it something I should be afraid of? Or is there no fear here? Is there nothing to be afraid of? Well, if you found yourself facing a lion walking towards you, you might be afraid of that. That would make sense. If you're just walking around out in the open and there's a lion and he starts walking towards you, I would imagine getting incredibly frightened. I wasn't. Why? Because I was inside of this truck. The lion couldn't get in. I had great access to see, to take pictures, all of that. But he couldn't get in. Oh, but you know what? If he tried hard enough, I'll bet you he could. Well, okay, he could attack the truck. Sure. Then what? It doesn't happen. And we know that because our guide, Thomas, told us. They're used to us. They've grown up. I mean, every single animal in the savannah has seen us their entire lives. They know that we're here. We don't pose a threat to them, so they don't act as if they're frightened of us because they're not. They have no perception of fear when it comes to us. Which is why that lion just walked, never even looked at me. Never even looked when I was, clicking my camera, when the shutter was clicking. Never moved, never changed his direction, never changed his demeanor, just kept on going. He was walking towards his brothers. He was on a mission. He was going someplace, and there was nothing in his way that was going to stop him. There was nothing for him to be afraid of. He's the apex predator. There's a million reasons where that scenario could have been scary until I paint the whole picture for you, until you see it clearly, until I actually show it to you. And then we can laugh about it. The hell were we laugh? What were we afraid of? Fear is your brain telling you, look at this. Obstacles, fear, frustration, anxiety, depression, stress. It's our body telling us, pay attention to something. Look at this. Doesn't mean it's a massive problem. It means it needs to be looked at. It needs to be evaluated. Change the way that you deal with fear. Instead of immediately retreating, hold your ground just for a second. Hold your ground just long enough to think through, is this real danger or just my body saying, my brain telling me, hey, there's something to pay attention to? That's it. That's it.
There was something you said the other day that made a lot of difference for me. And, because fear, I think that we can get caught in the trap that it's unique to us and that, oh, we have something wrong with us because we are in fear. But you mentioned how our ancestors, that fear was in place. If there's a saber-toothed tiger hiding somewhere, we have to be reactive to
Yep.
that. So that was really helpful.
It goes back to, lizard brain, monkey brain, caveman brain, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But the human brain was designed to keep us alive. So what we've done is we've combined the possibility of danger and real danger, and we made them one thing. We're afraid of everything. Everything's a problem. Everything's a disaster. Everything's wrong. When in most cases, there's really nothing wrong. The wind's just blowing a little bit differently over there than it is over here. The sound that you hear, Occam's razor. Occam's razor. The sound that you hear, it could be a monster. That's one possibility. But isn't it probable? Isn't it more likely that it's the wind rustling through the trees? I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. But before we close down, I'm going to tell you one more thing. I don't hear very well. I wear hearing aids. Have for a couple of years now. My hearing's shot. At night, before I go to bed, I take my hearing aids out and I put them in the charger. I lie down and I try and fall asleep. It doesn't usually happen very quickly. I'm not a great sleeper. Denise, on the other hand, she's fallen asleep in the middle of a conversation. She was the one talking and fell asleep. I mean, she can sleep in any environment, doesn't matter. She falls asleep, I'm wide awake. I hear a noise. I'm half asleep. I hear a noise, and it frightens me. Somebody's in the house. It takes me a second, but I have to remember, hang on a second, Occam's razor. What's the likelihood that somebody has broken in and is making noise in the house? Isn't it more likely that the noise is Denise talking in her sleep, snoring softly, or whatever, but so soft that I can't quite perceive it because I don't have my hearing aids in? And so I don't realize that it's her making the noise until I realize that it's repetitive. It's not just, random. It's over and over again. It's the same noise because she's breathing in the same pattern, or she's speaking, or she's, whatever. Feel free to be afraid of things that are scary. Just understand that most things that we're afraid of are not scary. They just aren't. With that, if you're watching on YouTube, I would ask you to do me a couple of favors. 4 things, and they're going to take you less than 30 seconds total. Because 30 seconds is enough. Champions are champions not because they do anything incredible, but because they do the simple things. They do the ordinary things better than anyone else. Here are the 4 things I'm going to ask you to do if you're on the YouTubes right now. Number 1, be sure and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button so that you'll see all of these videos when they come out. Number 2, give it a like. Just a like, that's all. Just give it a thumbs up. Number 3, share it. Send it out to your audience. If you found value here, Send it out to your audience. Give it to them and tell them, listen, you have got to watch this. This is tens of thousands of dollars worth of value. This is going to help you get over irrational fears. The fear of success, the fear of failure, the imposter syndrome. This is going to help you get past it. And of course, the last thing, give me a comment down below. Give me a comment. Guys, don't just send out, don't just share without a comment. Always, always, always give your commentary. Tell me why you're sharing it. Tell me why I should pay attention to it. And then put it out there. Send it to your email list as a gift. Share it to your social media. Whatever it takes. And remember that you can join us live on Zoom so that you can ask questions or have input just like Nikolai has, just like Kristen has, just like Khalid has, just like everybody that's been here today has had the opportunity to do. There's going to be a link, if it's not there already. If you're watching live, it's not there. But I will put a link down below in the description that you can use to register for the live Zoom calls. Every single day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's Eastern time, New York time for those of you outside the US. But I hope you'll join us because every single day we're doing something to fight for your business. We're doing something to help you accelerate your personal, professional, organizational development. And if you want to talk about a particular topic, shoot me a message. Shoot me a message. I'm at Jay Handler on all the social medias. Come find me. Come get on my Instagram at Jay Handler. Come to my LinkedIn at Jay Handler. Facebook at Jay Handler. Doesn't matter. Take your pick. And let me know how I can help you. In fact, I'd be more than honored to invest 30 minutes of my time with you one-on-one. I'll put another link down below in the description. There'll be a link in the description to schedule a one-on-one call. We'll get on a Zoom. It'll be you and me. We'll talk through your situation and we'll find you an answer. Not a sales pitch. Solution. Solution. At the end of that 30 minutes, if you believe I can help you more and you want to talk about how we can work together, great. I have all kinds of programs, group coaching programs, one-on-one programs, recorded content, things like this, free of charge every day. We'll find a way to help. We'll find the answer to the solution together. That much I promise. And I will see you all right back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time and every weekday for the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions on Zoom and on YouTube. Take care. Treat each other well. Stop being afraid of dumb shit. Let's go do lion shit.